Assalamu alaikum all. Today I'm going to be talking about how and why to keep halal investing simple. Halal investing can be done in a very simple way. It does not need to be complicated. Some people think you do in order to make good returns, but that is not the case at all. Hey, welcome to Simple Muslim Money, which is all about simple halal investing and personal finance for Muslims. Just a quick disclaimer. Everything I say here is not financial advice. It's purely for entertainment and information purposes. Okay, so why should we keep halal investing simple? Well, one of the main reasons is that, we're more likely to do it. I find when things are simple, I'm more likely to do it. I can understand what's going on. It also kind of reduces stress. It's less emotional. When you get people like trading and things like that, it's all about timing it and doing stuff like that. It just can add a lot of headache and just make it more difficult to invest. And also, by keeping it simple, it also means that I'm able to understand what I'm doing, what I'm actually investing in. There has been cases before where I've kind of invested in stuff where I didn't actually understand what was going on. So yeah, that's a really important thing to do. And one of the things that got me thinking about this podcast episode was actually a podcast that I listened to by Ramit Sethi, who's like a personal finance kind of, I don't know, guru or influencer on the internet. And yeah, definitely recommend you listen to his podcast. I was going to say read as well. He's got a book as well, which is called I Can Teach You to Be Rich. I know it sounds very corny, but it is actually a really, really good book. So definitely recommend that. In one of his podcasts, he was talking about fighting for simplicity. It's very easy to get distracted and confused by stuff out there. There's all these different types of investing funds and shares, ETFs, mutual funds, all of this sort of stuff. And really, a lot of that stuff I found was just distracting. And, especially now with cryptocurrency as well, there's so many different types of cryptocurrency that can make things really like confusing as well. But however, investing can be kept very simple. Now, how do I keep halal investing simple? Now, the way I do it is that 90% of my investments are in index funds. Index funds is something I've spoken about so many times on this channel, but it's something that Warren Buffett's recommended. And there are Islamic index funds out there that are kind of designed for Muslims, and they do actually do well in the long term. So 90% of my money is kind of invested in that. And then the remaining 10%, I've got about 5% probably in cash as like an emergency fund, and then 5% in kind of other alternative sort of investments. So I've got 5% probably in crypto as well. And the reason why I do that is crypto is okay. So maybe worst case, I could lose that 5% in cash, but best case, I could do really well if crypto kind of really builds up massively. And when I say crypto, I'm not talking about all of these alternative sort of coins and things, purely just in Bitcoin and Ethereum. That's what a lot of other people do as well. And, I'm prepared, worst case, if I lose all my money in that, then I lose all my money in that. So, there is that risk, but however, there's big potential upside. But the key thing to remember is that 90% of my investments are in index funds, which have traditionally done really well over the long term. Now, in terms of keeping halal investing simple, there are basically a couple of things to think about. So there's definitely your personal investing simple. So this is where you have like your own personal kind of investing account. So what I do is I have an account with AJ Bell in the UK. So I go there, I've opened up an investment account. I might put some money in it, but once the money's in it, it's not doing anything. I need to actually invest using that money. So with that money, I kind of invest in Islamic index funds. So that's my kind of personal way of investing. And the way I do that is in ISA, which is like a tax advantage account in the UK. So we've got some really good options in the UK. And like every country has its own kind of tax advantage ways to invest. In the US, you've got like Roth IRAs. That's a good way to invest in terms of from a tax advantage point of view. So there's some tax advantages in investing like that. And in Canada, Australia, I'm sure like every country kind of has a really good way to invest. So it's really good to kind of take advantage of those. And try not to complicate it as well. I definitely complicated. I kind of didn't know what I was doing. I didn't feel very confident about investing as well. I thought I needed to do all sorts of crazy, funky trading and stuff like that. That is not the case at all. And then, so we had that first aspect, which was the personal investing. There's also another aspect, which is things like pensions. So pensions are like really good. I know it's quite hard to think about a pension and thinking about when you're older. I have images of me being sort of 65, 70. That's when I'm thinking about a pension. But it's very useful, very important to kind of invest in a pension now, especially if you're working somewhere. So I work somewhere and I get like a work pension. So it's also about keeping that pension simple as well. And most of my pensions are in index funds as well, and pretty much the same index funds that I invest in within my regular personal investing. So it's kind of like both points. I knew with my pension I had no idea what was going on, so now I've got kind of a better idea and I've kind of got it a bit more under control. And yeah, it's just making sure that pension is kind of invested in the right way as well, because you could have a pension but it might not be performing as well, because it's just invested in some random stuff. So it's important to kind of take control of the pension. But another thing I want to talk about is just like being able to understand what you invest in. Like pensions is a very good example. So a lot of people have pensions, but they don't know where their money's going or where their money's invested in. And generally what I do is, my pension will be invested in index funds as well. But it's just about kind of trying to understand what I invest in as well. So I'm not investing in some weird thing. Like I've invested in this oil company thing ages ago. Like it's through a forum, through friends and stuff like that, and basically lost all my money in that. So that was kind of a waste of time. I didn't really know what I was doing. But generally what I do is if I don't really understand what's going on, then I won't invest in something. And the key way to kind of move forward, you might think, hey, Iqbal, how do I move forward by this? But definitely it's a step-by-step approach. Don't try and do everything in one go. Your pension, your personal investing, your budgeting and all of this stuff in one go. Just try and do it bit by bit. It's very easy to get overwhelmed. And definitely I would say the first step for me was actually going to AJ Bell, setting up an ISA. An ISA is a great way to invest in the UK, as I mentioned earlier, and just putting a little bit of money into that. Another option could be using like robo-advisor. So Wahid Invest is quite popular. Another sort of good option for Muslims as well. I chose with the AJ Bell option because of the fees. It's kind of got lower fees, so I kind of ended up going for that. Although it's a bit more complicated to figure out which has the best fees because of the way they kind of work. But I think that AJ Bell, in my opinion, seem to have better fees. But, either is a great option. But another thing is a good way to do all of this is by getting comfortable by investing in a small amount of money first. So Richard, I just sort of invested £10 and just to kind of understand what was going on. And if I lost it, hey, no big deal, it was £10. I was just kind of getting used to investing. It's a bit like going to the gym. You go to the gym and just do a little bit and just kind of get used to it. And a key thing is, and this is so important, something I didn't understand before, is just money psychology, like how our mind works with money. Investing is all about your mind and just, the psychology and our approach to money. Like I remember speaking to people and some people telling me that how investment is really risky. It's a bit like gambling, which is not halal. And by listening to people who probably didn't know that much about investing, but were just kind of coming up with their own sort of opinions and assumptions. And in fact, actually, by not investing, that's a big risk in itself, because your cash is just sitting there, not earning anything for you. And a lot of Muslims I know think that the only way to earn money with your cash is like through interest in the bank, but which is something we want to avoid. But however, you can make good returns by putting money into the stock market long term. And it's just this money psychology, especially as Muslims, is not something I found a lot of information out there about. And it's something that with this podcast I'm hoping I can kind of share more information out there. So investing and money psychology is something I, after reading lots of it, I realized I had to do. It was almost like my money is losing value, and it's something I need to kind of manage. And another thing is like mistakes will happen. I have made mistakes. I've invested in weird things. I've set up the wrong account, or I didn't know what I was doing, or I wish I'd done things different. That's totally fine. Things can be changed always later on. So yeah, don't let that put you off from investing, and especially if you just invest a small amount, hey, that's totally fine. I definitely did get paralyzed from investing, like the paralysis by analysis. And now I wish I'd started earlier and just got into index funds and just kept investing a regular amount. Now, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed this video, please smash that like button, as it really helps the algorithm.